Never take light too seriously, because you're never gonna get out of it alive. Christian Chudo here, Academy of Photography. Today I'm gonna answer a question coming from Surya from Indonesia. How do you take large group photos in sharp and undistorted? Very good question. He's using a 60D with a kit lens 18-55 and he's got plans to upgrade. But before you do that, my tips for large group photos and getting them sharp. I have taken a lot of large group photos because as a wedding photographer I always have to photograph the entire family and sometimes the entire wedding party. So it's been a challenge for me. Just remember a few things. In order to get the sharpness right, you need to go to the smallest aperture. So if you have enough light, go f22, and if you can't do that, just bump up the ISO. Try to stick with the smallest aperture you can afford. In order to avoid the distortion, I would use the 18-55 closer to 55 millimeters focal distance. So the wider the lens, the more distortion you're gonna have. For a 24 millimeters and even wider than that, 20, 15 or 8 millimeters, people on the side of the picture, they are starting to be distorted this way. So in order to avoid the distortion, try to narrow your field of view and try to go to the focal distance closest to 55. The best way to take a sharp photo is to actually use a telephoto lens, but it's not practical to have a photo lens and you will step away too far. You'll step too far away from the group and probably people won't be able to actually hear you. So it's difficult to use a telephoto lens. You just try to use a compromise. 55 millimeters will do the job just fine. So remember, try to narrow your focal distance. If you have, depending on your lens, the more narrow, the better it's gonna get, the less distortion you're gonna have. In terms of sharpness, you need to have the smallest aperture possible. If it's not possible, bump up the ISO, and after that work on your shutter speed. Before I go, I just want you to visualize your depth of field, because if you are understanding what is the depth of field for your lens, for your camera and for your situation, it's going to be much easier to take a decision what camera settings you're going to use. There's no such thing as a focal plane. So if you're arranging a group in a straight line or in a straight plane, you're gonna have people coming out of focus because you don't have a focal plane, but you have a focal sphere. So everything around you, if you are standing up, it's gonna be on a sphere. If you're moving this way, there's a specific distance which is fixed from your lens, which is gonna be in focus. Obviously, this is a sphere, so you have people arranged in a plane. That sphere is going to touch your plane in only one point. You're going to have only one face in focus. Obviously, if you have a deep depth of field, you need to capture everyone within that depth of field. But remember, it's safer to arrange people on a circle, not necessarily straight. Thank you for watching. Until I see you next time, I wish you happy shooting. Thank you very much.